Imagine waking up tomorrow and opening your cryptocurrency wallet only to find that a significant portion of your portfolio has simply vanished from one of the world's largest and most accessible trading platforms. This isn't the result of a sophisticated hack, a brutal market crash, or a personal error on your part. No, this disappearance would be the direct consequence of a single, cold, corporate decision buried in the endless noise of a social media announcement. This is not a hypothetical dystopian future. This is the very real and immediate reality for thousands of investors right now, as Binance Alpha just declared it will be surgically removing 18 distinct tokens, including GRIFT, Aimonica, Alpha, MT, degenai, LUCE, ASRR, and MAXONSOL, MemCH from its platform on October 20, 2025 at precisely 11:30 UTC. The clock is ticking down with an unnerving finality, and the deeper implications of this move are far more profound, more complex, and frankly, more terrifying than anyone in the mainstream crypto commentary sphere is openly discussing. We are not looking at a simple, routine cleanup of dead weight projects. We are witnessing a seismic event in the micro ecosystem of altcoin trading. A controlled demolition of specific digital assets. And if you are an holder of any one of these 18 tokens, you are, whether you realize it or not, standing directly in the blast zone, holding assets that are about to lose a critical lifeline. I have spent the last 72 hours in an intensive deep dive, dissecting this announcement from every conceivable angle, cross-referencing it with real-time on-chain data, analyzing years of trading volume patterns, and poring over the often opaque fundamental narratives of these now doomed projects. What I've uncovered is a story that isn't being told elsewhere, a story of hidden vulnerabilities, of market mechanics that work against the small investor, and of a decision that exposes the brutal, unspoken hierarchy of the crypto world. This is your urgent wake-up call, and you need to pay close attention to every single word I am about to say, because the actions you take, or fail to take, in the coming days will determine whether you navigate this event as a minor inconvenience or a catastrophic financial blow. Let's be unequivocally clear from the outset. When an exchange of Binance's magnitude removes a token, it is not merely deleting a line of code from a database. It is performing a form of financial excommunication. It is revoking a crucial stamp of legitimacy that it once granted. For many of these smaller, more speculative assets, but being listed on a platform like Binance Alpha, even a secondary one, was their single greatest achievement, their primary source of liquidity, and their main channel for attracting new investors. That channel is now being severed. The announcement may calmly state that selling of these tokens will still be allowed after removal, but that statement is a masterpiece of corporate misdirection, a calm reassurance that masks a coming storm of illiquidity, plummeting prices, and a frantic, panicked race for the exits that you do not want to be caught at the back of. Think of liquidity not as an abstract concept, but as the very oxygen that a token needs to breathe, to live, to have any measurable value. Right now, Binance Alpha provides a deep, accessible pool of that oxygen, a place where buy orders and sell orders meet in a relatively stable equilibrium. Come October 29th, that life support system is being unplugged. The pool will evaporate. The remaining trading pairs, likely on decentralized exchanges with wide slippage and low volume, will become a ghost town. The price you see on your screen today for, say, APY will become a phantom of memory, a number that is virtually impossible to actually realize as cash, because there will be no one on the other side of the trade willing to buy it from you at that price. This is the core of the shock that I need you to internalize right now. This is not a typical price dip that you can simply show DL through. This is a fundamental, structural shift in the very market for your asset. It is a transition from a state of relative stability to a state of extreme precariousness. And the most frightening part, the countdown to this event is public, known to everyone, which creates a uniquely dangerous psychological and financial trap. From this moment until the delisting time, every holder of these tokens is now a potential seller, knowing that their window of opportunity to exit with any semblance of value is closing rapidly. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of selling pressure that will likely crush the price long before the official removal date. The smart money, the whales, the insiders, they are already moving, quietly offloading their bags onto the unaware who either haven't seen the news or are in a state of denial, believing their project is special, that it will recover. Do not be that person. Do not let hope become a financial strategy. Your first and most critical call to action is this: as soon as this video ends, you must immediately go and check your entire portfolio, every wallet, every exchange account against that list of 18 tokens. Do not delay. Do not assume you're safe. Confirm your exposure. And if you find you are holding any of these assets, you must make a deliberate, clear-headed decision about your next move before the market makes it for you. The silence after this announcement is deafening, and it is in that silence where fortunes are quietly being erased. So you've checked your portfolio and the cold, hard reality has set in. You are holding one or more of these 18 tokens slated for removal. The initial shock might be giving way to a more insidious feeling: confusion. The fundamental question screaming in your mind is undoubtedly, why? Why these specific tokens? What did CA Hat, Aimonica, and the others do to warrant this sudden exile? Binance's official announcement, as is standard practice, is a masterpiece of vague corporate language, likely citing a periodic review and a failure to meet mysterious listing criteria. But we cannot and must not accept that as the final answer. To do so is to remain a passive passenger on a ship that you now know is heading for an iceberg. We have to dig deeper to connect the dots that Binance will not connect for us, because understanding the why is not an academic exercise. It is your primary defense mechanism against this happening to you again in the future. Let's dissect the anatomy of a delisting. Exchanges like Binance are not public utilities. They are for-profit corporations, and every asset they list represents a complex calculation of risk versus reward. The reward is the trading fee revenue generated by a vibrant, active token. The risk, however, is multifaceted and severe. It includes regulatory risk. Is this token starting to look too much like an unregistered security in the eyes of a major financial regulator like the SEC? It includes reputational risk. Has the project been associated with scandals, accusations of a soft rug, or consistently failed to deliver on its roadmap, thereby making the exchange itself look complicit or foolish for supporting it? And most quantifiably, it includes the risk of illiquidity. When a token's trading volume dries up, when the order book becomes so thin that a single modest sell order can crash the price by 50%, it ceases to be a revenue stream and starts to become a liability. It clutters the interface, it consumes technical resources, and it presents a target for market manipulators. Now let's apply this lens to our list of 18. This is not a random assortment, this is a targeted purge. While I cannot claim to know the internal deliberations at Binance, the patterns emerging from the data are stark and telling. A significant number of these tokens, like degenai, vvaifu, and MCH, exist in the hyper-speculative, narrative-driven corners of the market. The world of meme coins and AI pump projects that saw explosive, viral growth based on social media hype rather than tangible utility. These assets are the first to wither when the hype cycle turns. Their communities, once a roaring fire of activity on Twitter and Telegram, often fracture and go silent. The trading volume, which was once a raging river, trickles down to a mere drip. For an exchange, maintaining the infrastructure for a token that only trades a few $1,000s a day is a losing proposition. The cost of security, wallet maintenance, and customer support outweighs the minuscule fees collected. Other tokens on the list, such as REF and LUCE, represent older projects from previous crypto cycles, what we might call legacy altcoins. These are projects that may have had a compelling vision years ago, but have failed to innovate or maintain relevance in a rapidly evolving space. They are the ghost ships of crypto, still floating on the charts, but with no one left at the helm. Their development activity on GitHub flatlining, their communities an echo chamber of longtime holders praying for a miracle that never comes. For an exchange aiming to present itself as the cutting-edge frontier of digital assets, these ghost ships are an embarrassment, a reminder of past failures and dead ends. They need to be cleared out to make room for the next wave of hyped assets. Then there is the most sinister risk of all, the regulatory red flag. While none of these projects have been explicitly charged with wrongdoing by a major regulator, the names themselves and their marketing materials can sometimes attract unwanted scrutiny. A token named GRIFT or PAN, even if created ironically, is a compliance officer's nightmare. In an era where regulators are salivating at the chance to paint the entire crypto ecosystem as a lawless den of scammers and fraudsters, listing an asset that literally jokes about being a grift is an untenable risk. The exchange, in a move of proactive self-preservation, will jettison these potential liabilities long before a subpoena arrives. So, when you look at this list now, you should see not a random set of failures, but a curated collection of assets that failed one or more of these critical tests. They became too quiet, too controversial, too stagnant, or too legally ambiguous. This is the unspoken report card of the crypto world, and these tokens have just received a failing grade. Your call to action now is to internalize this lesson and apply it ruthlessly to every other asset in your portfolio. I want you to open a new tab right now, and for every single altcoin you own that isn't Bitcoin or Ethereum, ask these brutal questions. Is the trading volume consistently healthy and organic? Or is it propped up by a few large, suspicious transactions? Is the development team active and transparent with regular substantive updates, or has their GitHub been collecting digital dust for months? Does the project have a clear, tangible utility that is actually being used, or is it purely a speculative vehicle reliant on social media hype? Is its brand and messaging professional and compliant, or is it edgy and ironic in a way that could attract regulatory hellfire? This due diligence is your new religion. The delisting of these 18 tokens is not an isolated event, it is a case study, a warning shot across the bow of every complacent investor. Your portfolio is only as strong as its weakest, most illiquid, most questionable link. Identify that link now, before the next announcement is made and your assets are the ones on the chopping block. Understanding the why is your shield for the future, but it doesn't extinguish the fire that is burning right now. The immediate pressing danger is the financial contagion that is already spreading from this announcement, a silent, digital plague that operates on a precise and unforgiving timeline. The moment that post on X went live, a powerful and irreversible countdown began, not just on the official calendar for October 28th, but within the very heart of the market's psychology. To believe that the real damage will only occur on the day of removal is a catastrophic and potentially ruinous miscalculation. The market is a forward-looking machine. It doesn't react to events when they happen. It reacts to the anticipation of those events. The price action you are witnessing right now, as you listen to this, is the first, most violent wave of that anticipation. Think of it as a forced liquidation event playing out in slow motion, where every single holder of these 18 tokens has been transformed into a potential seller, all competing for a finite and rapidly shrinking number of exit doors. The whales and institutional players, with their sophisticated trading bots and real-time news feeds, likely started their sell-offs within minutes of the announcement, capturing the best possible prices while liquidity was still somewhat deep. They understand a fundamental rule of market structure. In a panic, liquidity doesn't vanish, it flees. Market makers, the entities responsible for providing those buy and sell orders that give a token its stability, are not charities. Their algorithms are designed to minimize risk and maximize profit. The second a delisting announcement hits, their models immediately flag that asset as toxic. They will systematically widen the spread, the difference between the buy and sell price, making it more expensive and less efficient to trade. Then, they will rapidly pull their liquidity, shrinking the order book to a ghost of its former self. This means the 10,000 worth of a token you thought you could sell in one clean transaction now requires 3 or 4 partial sells at progressively worse prices, with each sell order you place actually pushing the price down further against you. This creates a vicious, self-reinforcing death spiral. As the price drops, it triggers stop-loss orders and liquidations for those who were trading on margin, adding more selling pressure. As selling pressure mounts, more hesitant holders finally break and capitulate, deciding to cut their losses, which in turn drives the price down even more, convincing yet another wave of holders to panic sell. This is the emotional and financial meat grinder you are caught in if you are still holding. The most critical phase of this entire timeline is not the delisting day itself, it is the window between right now and about 48 hours before the official removal. That is when the final, most desperate wave of selling will occur, from those who held out hope for a reversal or were simply in denial. After that point, the volume and price will likely enter a state of near total flatline, not because of stability, but because the market for that asset on that platform is clinically dead. There is simply no one left to sell to. And this brings us to the most dangerously misunderstood part of the announcement, the line that says, selling of these tokens will still be allowed after removal. This is technically true, but contextually almost meaningless. It creates a false sense of security, a psychological loophole for procrastinators to think, I can always sell later. You cannot. After removal, the token will be untradeable for the vast majority of the exchange's user base. It will be delisted from the main trading interface, hidden away in a specialized wallet section, accessible only to those who already hold it. New buyers cannot find it, cannot search for it, and cannot place buy orders for it. You are now trapped in a closed ecosystem with every other panicked seller, all trying to offload your assets to a buyer pool of zero. The only potential liquidity will migrate to decentralized exchanges, but this is not the salvation it might seem. DX for small cap, delisted tokens are often plagued by catastrophic slippage, where you might end up receiving 70, 80, or even 90% less than the last quoted price due to a complete lack of depth in the liquidity pools. Furthermore, you become a prime target for sniper bots and MEV exploitation, where sophisticated actors can run your desperate transaction, ensuring you get the worst possible price while they profit from your misfortune. The brutal, unvarnished truth is that for all practical purposes, the value of that token on any centralized, accessible market effectively evaporates on delisting day. The price chart doesn't just go to zero, it becomes a flat line, a monument to a market that no longer exists. Your call to action at this very moment is to break this cycle of panic and replace it with a strategy of cold, calculated execution. If you have decided that exiting your position is the correct move for your risk tolerance, then you must act with speed and precision. Do not place a large market order all at once. You will simply crash the price against yourself. Instead, break your holdings into smaller, manageable chunks. Set limit sell orders at progressively lower but still reasonable price points, aiming to get out in several steps rather than one disastrous trade. Monitor the order book closely. If you see the buy side liquidity collapsing, it is a signal to be more aggressive, to accept a larger loss now to avoid a total loss later. This is a tactical retreat, not a surrender. You are preserving capital to fight another day. The worst thing you can do is to freeze, to become a spectator to your own financial demise. The clock is not just ticking, it is thundering. Every minute of inaction is a minute that the market is moving against you, that liquidity is draining away, and that your window of opportunity is slamming shut. Your portfolio's health depends on you moving from understanding to action right now. Navigating the immediate aftermath of this delisting is a brutal test of your tactical skills, but surviving the long-term implications is what will ultimately define your future as a successful crypto investor. Because the fallout from an event like this does not end when the trading pairs vanish from the screen. It reverberates through the entire ecosystem, reshaping the landscape and leaving behind a series of hard, uncomfortable truths that we must all confront if we are to build more resilient portfolios. The first and most profound lesson is the absolute, non-negotiable primacy of self-custody. For years, the mantra, "not your keys, not your coins," has been repeated to the point of becoming a cliché, but clichés become clichés for a reason. They are true. This Binance Alpha delisting is the ultimate case study. If you hold these tokens in your own private wallet, a hardware wallet like a Ledger or Trezor, this entire event transforms from a 5-alarm fire into a manageable logistical challenge. You are not trapped. Your assets are not locked in a closing vault. You still possess the keys to your digital property, and you have the freedom to move them, to hold them, or to seek out alternative, albeit less convenient venues to trade them on decentralized protocols. The panic, the forced selling, the race to a non-existent exit. That is the reality of the investor who trusted a centralized platform as their sole bank, broker, and custodian. Your experience of this event is dictated entirely by where you chose to park your assets. This is a watershed moment that should compel every single one of you to conduct a full audit of your storage strategy. How much of your portfolio is sitting on an exchange right now, vulnerable to the next unexpected announcement, the next sudden policy change, the next periodic review? The convenience of leaving assets on an exchange for quick trading is a seductive trap, one that exchanges are all too happy to facilitate, but it comes with a hidden, catastrophic cost: the total loss of control. The second long-term lesson is the death of the passive HAL strategy for micro-cap and speculative altcoins. The idea that you can just buy a token, forget about it for 2 years, and come back to a life-changing fortune is a fairy tale that this delisting has brutally murdered. These assets are not like Bitcoin, a foundational protocol with global network effects. They are more like shares in a highly experimental, incredibly risky startup. You wouldn't invest in a biotech startup and then never read another press release, never check on its clinical trials, never monitor its cash flow. Yet, that is exactly how many people treat their altcoin investments. They become passive bag holders, oblivious to the decaying fundamentals, the declining volume, the fading community engagement, all the very metrics that eventually land a token on a list like this one. From this day forward, your investment in any altcoin must be active. You must set calendar reminders to check its development activity on GitHub every month. You must monitor its trading volume and liquidity depth on a weekly basis. You must stay engaged with its community channels not as a cheerleader, but as a forensic auditor, looking for signs of life or signals of abandonment. This is the new cost of admission. If you are not willing to do this ongoing, active due diligence, then your capital has no business being in these highly speculative, structurally vulnerable assets. The final, and perhaps most unsettling, long-term implication is the immense and growing power wielded by a handful of centralized exchanges. With a single blog post, they can effectively euthanize a project, wiping out millions of dollars of collective investor value and destroying years of developer work. This is not a criticism. It is simply an observation of the market structure we have all participated in building. They are the gatekeepers, and their decisions are final. This power dynamic is not going away. If anything, it is intensifying. Your defense against the centralized power is not to protest it, but to build your investment framework in a way that acknowledges it and insulates you from its most severe effects. This means a core portfolio of assets with profound, undeniable utility and deep, multi-venue liquidity. Your Bitcoins, your Ethereums. It means a satellite portfolio of more speculative plays that you actively manage and, crucially, that you store in self-custody. It means that the money you allocate to these moonshots is money you are psychologically prepared to lose entirely, not just to market volatility, but to the structural risks of the ecosystem itself. The delisting of these 18 tokens is not an anomaly, it is a template. It is a drill for the next market downturn, for the next regulatory crackdown, for the next time an exchange decides to clean house. You have now lived through it. You have felt the initial shock, understood the underlying causes, and navigated the tactical response. The final and most important call to action is this: do not let this painful experience be in vain. Let it be the catalyst that transforms you from a passive spectator into a sovereign, resilient, and intelligent investor. Let it be the moment you finally moved your most valuable assets into cold storage. Let it be the reason you created a rigorous, ongoing due diligence checklist for every altcoin you own. Let it be the lesson that taught you to respect the immense power of the gatekeepers and to structure your portfolio accordingly. The crypto landscape is evolving at a breakneck pace, and it is ruthlessly separating the prepared from the complacent. This event was a test. Now I need you to go and prove that you passed.